Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're doing part 2 of our DLC speculation series focusing on Planet Zoo. And this is a big one. I had several other ideas that I had to come up with because post um, the last one, post part 1, I realized that I hadn't had complete years for the next two. Because, let's be honest, there are several animals in the world that could easily come into this game, and there are many that would be fantastic additions that well didn't feature in the last packs, but I featured in these ones. So I hope you enjoy it, and let's get straight into it. First up, I forgot to include this last video for the anniversary animals of year 4, so that is 2023. So the animals I had in mind were the Sumatran tiger, which is one of the most common in captivity, and I'm surprised it didn't make it into the base game. Hopefully, we could get it in the future, maybe this year. I don't know, because last year was the year of the tiger, and I was sure that we were going to get it. But we got the red deer, which is a great animal itself, and for a base game deer, it was a nice surprise because we did not have any deer in the base game. We had deer before, like the moose, the reindeer, and the European fallow deer, but they were all DLC. So the red deer coming in to complement its scenery that exists, so statues and signs, was a really good decision, in my opinion. Some people weren't happy with it, but I thought it was a very good move. Or the king cobra. Now, it is probably one of the most requested snakes I've seen in a zoo game. Like, they are magnificent in real life, and they would honestly be so cool to see. Even if it is an exhibit animal, it wouldn't really do much. It is one of those animals that a zoo game should have. It is such a spectacular reptile, the largest venomous snake in the world, eats other snakes, and isn't even a true cobra, which is kind of, well, surprising, given it has a hood. But it is in the elapid family, and many members of that family. We do have another elapid in the game, the eastern brown snake, and the common death adder, actually, is an elapid too, even though it looks like a viper. But king cobra, surefire. But we could easily get both. Like, I would love it if we got both. That would be fantastic. Moving on, we have the Woodlands Animal Pack. So this pack focuses on woodlands of all different kinds, deciduous, coniferous, dry, and even acacia woodlands. So the flagship of the pack is the Eurasian red squirrel. Now, we don't have any squirrels in the game, but we do have plenty of rodents, and I think they could adapt some of the prairie dog rig to fit the requirements of a squirrel. Like, you just have to make it climb, you'd have to give it all sorts of other things, but it has relations to some existing animals. Next up, the European pine marten. Now, they are a mustelid, so a weasel of a sort. They climb trees as well, even hunting squirrels, particularly our little friend, the red squirrel. So they would be a really good addition to spice up the European roster. Like these two in particular, as tree climbing animals. Like, we do have the lynx, but these two are smaller and really fall into the category of the badger as like the smaller but slightly more interesting animals that you wouldn't expect. I mean, next up, the Virginia opossum, one of the only marsupials outside of Australia or outside of Oceania as a whole. And yes, they do carry their young in a pouch and on their back, like many marsupials in Australia, like koalas and possums, like true possums. They are found in a wide range of habitats, particularly temperate forests and even into some of the marshlands in Florida, which would um, make them another species that you could put into your Florida exhibits. Next, we have the mantled geriza or the black and white colibus. Now, as you might be thinking, this is a jungle animal. This monkey it lives in the jungle. Well, that is not necessarily true. They are very often found in woodlands on the edges of the savannah. And with their striking black and white coloration and the mat of hair they have hanging from their backs, it would make them one of the more exquisite and more interesting looking primates in the game. Some people could get confused between it and the black and white rough lemur, but it is a spectacular primate that I've been privileged to see in real life, and they are absolutely spectacular. Next is the Gower. Largest bovine in the world, is a full-on tank. They are sturdy, they are brutes, they are some of the most spectacular animals in all of Asia. They have huge horns, and to make up with that, they also have they're probably one of the buffest looking cattle in the world. Like, they look like they have so much muscle. Like, they could wrestle a water buffalo. Like, I've seen videos of water buffalo and Gower coming into contact, and the Gower towers over it. It is a spectacular beast, and one I would love to see in the game, because it could even be one of those animals that you feature in Asian safari tours. So it could be with stuff like Indian rhinos, or even the red deer and Przewalski's horses, being in that sort of category as a somewhat woodlands, but also open lands sort of creature. Next, we have the sloth bear. Now, I was sort of tied between this one and the American black bear, but then I remembered something that the sloth bear can do that American black bears can't. So their long muzzle that you can see there, they use that as a vacuum somewhat. So they will put their lips onto a termite mound, and they will use vacuum suction to slurp the termites out of their holes. And that is one of the craziest things I've heard about a bear. What's even crazier is that they're one of the most aggressive animals in India and the Indian subcontinent as a whole. Even been known to scare tigers, which is astonishing given this is one of the smallest bears in the world. Smallest is the sun bear, which we were lucky enough to get in the Southeast Asia Animal Pack. But the sloth bear is another one of those unique bears, and their big shaggy coat is also just the best. But what most people would know the sloth bear from is the Jungle Book, where Baloo was portrayed as the sloth bear. And yeah, like it'd be amazing to have another member of the Jungle Book be added into the game, because then you could do like a full Jungle Book section in your zoos. Next, we have the Tanuki, or the raccoon dog. I mean, this is specifically the Japanese raccoon dog. So these small guys and gals live in Japan, in the temperate forests, and they are one of the most peculiar canids, because look, they have this. I think it's a bit of convergent evolution, where you've got two animals that look very similar and fill somewhat similar niches, except the raccoon dog's a canid, and the raccoon is, well, a raccoon. But I might not have a lot to talk about on the Tanuki. I don't know them that well, but it would be a nice little addition to spice up the Japanese roster, because we currently just have the Japanese macaque, the red crown crane, and do we have anything else that is in Japan? I don't know, but it would certainly be a good addition. And lastly, the squirrel glider. These little possums live all around the east coast of Australia, gliding from tree to tree, from Banksia to Banksia. They are pollinators, so they feed on nectar and spread it to other flowers. And to have these in the walkthrough exhibit would be absolutely amazing. It'd be great to see if like they glided into the guests and like landed on their heads. That would actually be so cool to see. And then they just glide off to the next landing point. And they would spice up the Australian roster. I mean, most of Australia's animals are very unique, but this one would really start to push the boundaries of the Australian roster, because it would be the first of the roster to be able to glide, but also it would just be great for nocturnal houses, along with the bats and the wombat. And yeah, they're absolutely amazing. So a few alternatives or additions that could be made to this pack is the American black bear that I discussed a little bit when choosing the bear for this pack, because bears are a staple woodlands animal. But the American black bear is more famous, but don't worry, I have it in a pack down the line. I think it might even... No, it's not the next pack, it's the next pack down then. Okay. We also have the wild boar, which is widespread across Europe and feral populations across the planet. But they are also a staple woodlands animal for many European woodlands. And I am actually kind of surprised we didn't get them in the Europe pack, although the Europe pack has one of the best representations of European wildlife I think I've seen in the game. Like, confined to a pack, because we got the fire salamander, and that was it is probably the most interesting exhibit animal from Europe, in my opinion at least. But back to the wild boar, these guys are really big. Like, they get bigger than most pigs you see on a farm, and they are pests, but like, there's no denying that. But the fact that they are so widespread and so adaptable, I think, would make them a great alternative. I don't know for what, because I love all the animals I selected. And I think it would be a very strong pack, even though it is very mammal-centered. I could have put the capercaillie in, but I completely forgot. And also the elk. So they are a large deer from North America. There are several subspecies, but just elk would do. I mean, many people call the moose the elk, but in fact, elk is, well, this one. So Cervus canadensis. You could put these in enclosures with pronghorn antelope or bison. I've seen several examples. Like, I went to a zoo once and saw American bison with elk, and yeah, I think that would be great as a North American edition. And they are another big deer. Like, big deer are some of the coolest, most powerful animals you could ever see, and majestic too. Like, the male elk with that set of antlers would make it for a really magnificent addition to any North American zoo. However, I think I've got it coming up in another pack as well. Now, the bobcat is another species of the lynx family. It looks very similar to the Eurasian lynx, but is very much smaller, lives in North America, in a wide range of habitats, from deserts to swamps to forests, all sorts of places. And they're often called the red lynx, like that is one of their other names. So you've got Lynx rufus, so red lynx. But I think it would be a really interesting addition for North America, because after the cougar, you've got other cats like the bobcat and the Canada lynx. However, the bobcat is one of the more interesting and fits this title better. Sorry if you can hear that noise in the background, that is a lawnmower. Yeah, so just ignore that. Okay, I think it's gone away now. Good. So next up, the tufted deer. I just call these the saber-toothed deer because of those nice little sabers that come out of the mouth. Are they tusks? No, they wouldn't be tusks. I think they are just teeth. But they are a small little deer from Asia, and I think would be great for little forest exhibits. Like, if you were making a little forest trail based around Asia, you have stuff like red pandas, of course. You'd have the Gower and maybe the Sloth Bear too, and the Tanuki. But the tufted deer would be a nice little forest species to see, and I think would just be nice. And they also exist in several mods for some games as well. But I don't have too much to say on animals I don't know that much about. But I've seen tufted deer in videos before, and seen several pictures of them, and I thought they were just a really interesting species of animal to see in this sort of pack. The mower's back again. Anyway, ignoring the mower, let's move on. So we have the Old World Animal Pack. Now, this is one I thought of completely off the cuff. And this is based around animals found in, well, the old world. So places that were known in ancient times, like Europe, Asia, and Africa. Places like Australia, North America, and South America hadn't been discovered yet. And so this is animals that you would find in Africa, Europe, and Asia. So let's get into it. So first up is the crested porcupine. Now the crested porcupine is, I think it's the second most requested animal in the game after the Tasmanian devil. And they would be a fine addition to many zoos. Like, you could even keep them with meerkats, which would be brilliant. I went to a zoo recently where they had an exhibit with meerkats and Cape porcupines, which are very similar to the crested porcupine, but I think the Cape is a bit smaller, or it's a bit bigger. I don't know. I mean, they were the first porcupines I've ever seen, but yeah. So the crested porcupine, using those really large quills that just trail off, they have one of the most interesting and intricate defense systems, because they will like fan out their quills. They'll even charge back at something like a lion or a leopard, and it's not nice for the lion or the leopard. I think that there's actually been stories of porcupines killing leopards and lions with their quills, like after they've like punctured a vital organ or something, which is pretty gnarly when you think about it. Now, I just want to address like a myth that most people probably think is true, but is not true. So porcupines do not shoot their quills. That is not possible for a rodent like it is. And I don't think there are too many animals that have projectile weapons other than liquid. Because, you know, stuff like the horned lizard that shoots blood out of its eye, bombardier beetles, all that sort of stuff. But porcupines, hedgehogs, and echidnas do not shoot their quills or spines. Next, we have the golden snub-nosed monkey. Now, this is an animal I would love to see in the game. They're one of the most interesting looking primates because they have blue faces. Like, you never see too many mammals that have blue coloration. Like, their name might be blue, have blue in it, but you never really see too many mammals that are, like, they have blue skin. And the golden snub-nosed monkey is one of those rare finds. They are found in China, in the, I think, is it the Sichuan province? They, they live in the highlands, in the Central Asian highlands. There we go. And in similar places that you could find takin, and snow leopards, even giant pandas. So, going off that, they would be great additions for many. Damn it. Many zoos based around China and other themes like the Highlands. I was thinking of them for the Highlands pack, but I thought the gelada and the Hamadryas baboon were two strong candidates that could really make it. And geladas are just really cool too. But I thought this was a great pack to see them come into the game. While I was making this, I almost thought that they would be great for Planet Zoo 2, if that ever happened. I don't know if it would, but it would be a good animal to bring in for a sequel if Frontier chose to go down that path. Which I'm split on. I don't know whether they should or whether they shouldn't, especially with the last couple of packs on this list. So, okay, moving on from the golden snub-nosed monkey, we have the African wild donkey. Now, I can't say their actual name because I don't know if there are like rules against swearing or anything like that, but it's not used in a swearing term. It is referred to as an African wild. You can look it up. It would be on Wikipedia or something. So they're found in the deserts around the Horn of Africa, so Somalia, Djibouti, Eritrea. Is that okay? Pronunciation really isn't my strong suit when it comes to names and some country names, because I'm really afraid of getting it wrong because I don't want to get in trouble. But that sort of area is where they live. Now, they are a donkey, so they would be the game's first donkey. Not the first equine, because of course we got zebras and the Przewalski's horse. But they would be great because they are critically endangered, and we don't have enough critically endangered animals in the game. Basically, to spread awareness about the threats they face, and I think this animal doesn't get talked about enough. So, yeah, we got the African wild donkey. Next up is the Saiga Antelope. Now, this pick is based on the fact that there were Saiga Antelope in captivity before. I don't know if there still are, but I think they could be built on the knowledge that we have on other antelope to sort of provide different habitat for them to replicate what they could receive if they were to be held in captivity today. Because they definitely were historically. Most animals have been held in captivity historically. But I don't really know whether Frontier wants to stay realistic with many of the owls, because I don't think West African lions exist in captivity. But they are an African lion, so we got an African lion already. Yeah, so with the Saiga Antelope, they have big noses, which I think that helps with like filtration of dust when they move in herds. I think I heard that in Planet Earth 2, which is a series by David Attenborough. Go watch it. It is a really good series. And the Saiga was featured in it, and they're very threatened. Like they're critically endangered. Like I saw an article a few years back, I think, where they said that some sort of disease killed 200,000 Saiga antelope, which is just insane to me, because if just one outbreak could destroy their population, it is shocking to me. So they're found along the Eurasian steppe and had done for several thousands of years. They were even around during the Ice Age alongside mammoths and woolly rhinos. So they've been around for a long time, and hopefully they can stay around for a bit longer. And I think they would be a very unique antelope to be added into the game. It would certainly diversify the ungulates roster by getting an antelope that really doesn't look like any other. The Himalayan Manau, which, for those who remember, was an alternative in the Highlands Pack and Highlands Animal Pack. They're a very colourful pheasant, as I said, and I thought this was a good pack for them to make their debut, because it is a beautiful bird and it's not one to pass up. Okay, the Eastern Black Rhinoceros. Now, this is an animal that it is a rhino. Now, I'll get that out of the way. So we have the Southern White Rhino and Indian Rhino, but the Eastern Black Rhino is unique in the sense that it has a hooked lip, so triangle shaped lip for browsing, which neither of the rhinos necessarily do in the game. So like Indian rhinos, they feed on bushes, I'm pretty sure, but not like small trees. And Southern White Rhinos are adapted for grazing, which is what their lips are evolved to do. So they are often called the square-lipped rhino, which was the name that they were given when they were first discovered. But when it comes to the Eastern Black, and black rhinos in general, they feed on small trees and many high food places. I'm really trying to work out what I'm supposed to say in this video. I had a script with me last time, but this time I'm trying to pluck some stuff from memory. I just thought I should get this out of the way so I can move on to other videos. Sorry if I'm wasting your time here. So Eastern Black Rhino would be a great addition to safari parks and many different zoos. Like, they are very common in captivity, and many people have not seen Southern White Rhinos, and that's the thing with some of the choices that DLCs should look at, is some animals might be familiar and some might not. So there are particular zoos where you've got a Siberian tiger, or a Bengal tiger, or a Sumatran tiger. Like, it goes either way. Different players are familiar with different kinds of what are often considered the same kind of animal. But given that there are subspecies, I think should be acknowledged a bit further so that players can be more flexible with the animals they can put in. Like, if they want to recreate their local zoo, they would probably look at the exact subspecies that that zoo holds, and or just a species in general that is currently missing. And I think Eastern Black Rhino is one of those. It also has scenery in the base game, so it could easily work as an anniversary animal too. Okay, the Largibbon. This is one animal that is very high on the meta wish list and would not be a bad addition. Um, it is found across Southeast Asia, which is what led me to think back in the day when the Southeast Asia Animal Pack was coming out. I theorized that the Largibbon could have been part of it. It wasn't in the end, but we got the proboscis monkey, which was actually really cool because proboscis monkeys are one of the most um, interesting primates with their big noses and their ability to swim. Webbed feet too. But the Largibbon would share the rig of the Siamang. They would just have to remove the gular sac because Largibbons don't have that. And lastly, the Gaboon Viper of Africa. So these are one of the coolest sorts of vipers. They have, I think they've got the most powerful bite of any viper, or is it the longest fangs? Could be both actually. But they also have a hiss, which isn't necessarily a hiss. It's almost like a roar. It's a very peculiar sound that they make. Now, moving on to the alternatives. The tufted deer returns, but also the serval, which is a small cat from Africa and is sort of in the same league as the caracal, being one of those cats that can catch birds mid-air. Like, they can jump really high too. They are spring-loaded. And the black-buck antelope of the Indian subcontinent. They are very common in captivity, and I think would make great additions to, like the Gower, sort of Asian safaris. Oh yeah, the Bactrian camel could in that too. Oh, I forgot about him. Sorry. Oh, and also the wild boar. Now, the New World is Australia, North America, and South America, and several islands in between. And this is primarily focused on America, and, well, the Americas. And starting off the pack, we have the black howler monkey, which is a highly requested primate, and would be one of the loudest animals you'd have in your zoo. Like, the Siamang's are loud now, but I think the howler monkey might get louder, because they have a deeper call, and that could carry much further. Yeah, and they're also one of the biggest monkeys in South America, if not the biggest. I don't know if spider monkeys get bigger, they could. But they are hefty. The ocelot makes its return, but actually part of the pack. It's not an alternative this time. So the ocelot I've spoken about twice in the previous video, and yeah, that would just be a cool little jungle cat to see. And yeah, there are so many animals that could still make it into the game. Like, this video is going on a bit long because I'm just babbling on. Guyana squirrel monkey, I talked about in the tropical rainforest animal pack. The superb lyrebird. Now, this is the representative for Australia, and is actually is the animal on the Australian wildlife. Is it New South Wales National Park sign? I think so. But what's interesting about these guys is they replicate so many different sounds. Like, they can replicate a kookaburra, they could replicate even human speech. They are one of the best mimics in nature. And with that lovely tail that you cannot see on the icon, but it is there, they have a really cool set of tail feathers. Not as iconic as peacocks, but this is one of those birds that most people might not think about and would be a really good addition to many Australian zoos, because the Australian roster is not just mammals and large birds, it is also the smaller birds and some of the reptiles. But yeah, superb lyrebird, great to see. Now the greater rhea is the second bird in this pack. Hold on, this is not all the birds we got in this video. So the greater rhea is found on the Cerrado grasslands and many other grasslands throughout South America, and could be in several exhibits with maned wolves, giant anteaters, capybaras, all of them. And yeah, that would be the last large rat type that we would need for the game, because it might look like an ostrich, but so do emus. I mean, not really, but okay, you know what I mean. But these guys look like ostriches more than any other, but they are basically South American ostriches. And so to have them in a pack, to get them officially, would be good for more South American parks based around grasslands. Now, the American black bear makes its return as one of the most adaptable bears in the world. Sometimes one of the most aggressive. It would be great for many North American parks, as you currently just have the polar bear and the grizzly. But where's the American black bear? Hopefully, if Frontier decide to do this pack, it could be included. Patagonian Mara, one of the most peculiar rodents, because they can look like a deer as well. Like, they're so odd. They have long legs and walk like ungulates too. So hoofed animals. And yeah, they could share habitats with capybaras, the rhea, all sorts of grassland animals. I don't know about the maned wolf, but I mean, maybe you could check. And of course, the alligator snapping turtle. I would say it's my only critique of the North American Animal Pack. It's that the snapping turtle wasn't featured. Like, it is the perfect exhibit animal for North America, because they are large and they are so cool as well. Like, if they bite down, you could lose a finger, maybe even your arm. I don't know. I hope to never get bitten by one. If I were to meet one, of course. I've seen them before, but I certainly don't want to get too close to those very large jaws. Yeah, not too fond of it. Okay, this video might go on for an hour. Okay, let's try and make it snappy now. Kinkajou, a relative of raccoons that feeds on nectar, is a pollinator of the South American forests. And the quokka, talked about in the Islands pack and Islands Animal Pack as an alternative, and is often regarded as the happiest animal in the world. Okay, anniversary animals of year 5. Yeah, I'm trying to pick up the pace now because I've been babbling on for way too long. So tufted capuchin. Widespread in captivity, portrayed Dexter in the Night at the Museum films, and is an iconic zoo animal. White-faced capuchin is great, but the tufted capuchin is more widespread and well known, and would make for a bit more diversity in the South American primates, because there are lots of South American primates. I wanted to fit more tamarins into this video, but unfortunately I was only able to fit one. So the tufted capuchin, or the green anaconda, the biggest snake in the world. Well, biggest, I should say heaviest, because I think reticulateds can get longer, if not just the same. But they are the heaviest. So these two South American animals would go head to head, or we could get both. Like, it'd be great. We need more snakes too. Alright. Okay, here we go. The aviary expansion. Now, we all want flying birds. I talked about some flying birds in my previous video, but this is where we're going to get a bit crazy. Now, I've got 20 icons. I'm going to have 20 icons on this slide, but each that is just like, for example, macaws would have 5 representatives, like the butterflies. So you get a single rig, but different models and colors, because it is a good template to follow, I would say, for making flying birds, because we've got the bats, we've got the butterflies. Making so many different butterflies should warrant more macaws. So the macaws I've selected are the blue and yellow macaw, the green-winged macaw, the scarlet macaw, the hyacinth macaw, and the great green macaw. Eagles. Okay, I added a few more eagles because eagles are probably my favorite bird of prey. So we've got the bald eagle, of course, harpy eagle, the Philippine monkey-eating eagle, although it's just called the Philippine eagle these days, I'm pretty sure. The Stella's sea eagle, and the wedge-tailed eagle. Okay, I didn't go over it. Before I did, but I fixed that. Pigeons and doves, one of the staples of many apiaries. Just trying to scroll down my script here. So we have the Victoria crown pigeon, the Nicobar pigeon, which is actually the living relative of the dodo, which went extinct several hundred years ago. The Luzon bleeding heart pigeon, the superb fruit dove, and the Socorro dove, which only exists in captivity. Hornbills and toucans. So we have the great hornbill, the rhinoceros hornbill, the red-billed hornbill, and for the toucans, the Toko toucan and the green aracari. For owls, we have the snowy owl, Eurasian eagle owl, the great horned owl, the spectacled owl, and the burrowing owl, having its own sort of mostly ground-dwelling rig. Vultures, we have the Andean condor, the California condor, the king vulture, the turkey vulture, and the Ruppel's griffon vulture. Oh, for duck. Okay, I messed up the animation. Oh dear. So move on to ducks first. We have the mandarin duck, the common eider for many Arctic zoos as well, white-faced whistling duck, ruddy-shelled duck, and the harlequin duck. Okay, that icon will show up eventually. So for spoonbills and ibis, we have the roseate spoonbill, the Eurasian spoonbill, the northern bald ibis, the scarlet ibis, the African sacred ibis, and the little penguin. Oh wait, no, little penguin's next. At least it will be. Okay, I'm just going to get them all out so I can read through them. Because, yeah, it might take a bit long. I messed up the animations on this one. Okay. So for lorikeets, budgerigars, and lories, we have... Oh, man. I should have done more editing to this. We've got the rainbow lorikeet, the budgerigar, the red lory, black cat lory, dusky lory, and that's all for that one. For swans and geese, we have the moot swan, the black swan, and for the geese, the Canada goose, the magpie goose, and the nene, or Hawaiian goose. We also have saddle-billed stork. For the other parrots, we have sulphur-crested cockatoo, palm cockatoo, the galah, the African grey parrot, and the kea. For these large packs, I'm really having to speed it up here because I don't want to be an hour-long video. We also have the grey crowned crane, the Ragiana bird of paradise. For pelicans, we have the Australian pelican, the brown pelican, the great white pelican, Dalmatian pelican, and pink-backed pelican. Because pelicans are diverse and many zoos have different ones. For the puffins and other seabirds, we have the Atlantic puffin, the tufted puffin, the rhinoceros auklet, the Inca tern, and the black guillemot. And for the last birds, we have the helmeted guinea fowl, the laughing kookaburra, and the fastest bird in the world, the peregrine falcon. I need to take a breath. There's too many birds, but yeah, it would be great to see. And even the birds that I've just got here would be great. Next up, oh dear. Oh no, Aquarium Expansion. So, stuff like jetty paths, coral reef pieces, kelp, a scuba diving experience would be brilliant. More faux rocks to like make walls to lagoons and all sorts of things. Underwater walk-through tunnels, definitely, because the way we have to make them can't last forever. Many different shaped aquariums and open-top lagoons. Yeah, they would. This is probably the biggest one. And edible walls of editable, not edible, editable walls of aquariums and lagoons that can be glass, faux rock, or concrete. And of course, signs and statues for most of the animals. Oh boy, here we go. So for sharks, I wish this was the last one. I'm just trying to fit this in. The next video is going to be much quicker because it's the final verdict. Now, sharks. We have the bull shark, the great hammerhead, the sandbar, the black-tip reef shark, and the tiger shark. For rays, we have the reef manta, the cow-nosed ray, the southern stingray, and the white-spotted eagle ray. Also the giant freshwater stingray. For turtles, we have the green sea turtle, the hawksbill sea turtle, pig-nosed turtle, a row turtle, or giant Amazon river turtle, and the Malaysian river terrapin. I should have split this video into two more parts. Dear. But I've committed now. The cartilaginous fish, we have the bowmouth guitarfish, the giant shovel-nosed ray, the zebra shark, the spotted wobbegong, and the smooth dogfish. For large freshwater fish, we have the arapaima, alligator gar, white sturgeon, red-tailed catfish, and Mekong giant catfish. For the mediums, we have the electric eel, the blackfin pacu, the Asian arowana, and Australian lungfish, as well as the northern pike. For small freshwater fish, we would have various African cichlids, because there are that many species, it is crazy. The Australian rainbow fish, the red-bellied piranha, koi, and the banded archerfish. Ah, jeez. I made this too hard for myself. Large saltwater fish, we have the Atlantic Goliath grouper, the giant trevally, the golden trevally, the Tyra batfish, and the humphead Maori wrasse. For medium, we have the red lionfish, the barramundi, the green moray eel, the yellow-tailed fusilia, and the diagonal banded sweetlips. Wonder who came up with that name. I mean, the diagonal banded makes sense, but the sweetlips, I don't think they go around kissing people. And for the small saltwater fish, we have many, because you can't have a reef with just 5 fish. So we have the pallet surgeonfish, which portray Dory in Finding Nemo and Finding Dory, the Ocularis clownfish, which is Marlin and Nemo, the blue striped snapper, the Achilles tang, the Moorish idol, gill, the raccoon butterflyfish, the long spined pufferfish, the copperband butterflyfish, the yellow tang, the fox-faced rabbitfish, the regal angelfish, the yellow boxfish, the mandarin fish, lots of fish, yeah, flame angelfish, black bar soldierfish, forceps fish. Oh, I just added a few more on. Emperor angelfish, blue streak cleaner ass, powder blue tang, big nose unicorn fish, and moving on to the animals that are on their own. We have the peacock meat. Yeah. Oh my god. Peacock mantis shrimp, the giant Pacific octopus, the Pacific sea nettle, the moon jelly, the West Indian manatee, the giant cuttlefish, the Japanese spider crab, the yellow seahorse, the sea otter, and the walrus. The walrus makes its return. So that's your aquarium expansion. Next one will go much smoother. Alright. So, the Plant Zoo Animal Pack. Now, the idea behind this pack is to be a celebration of what came before it. To end off the game on a high. And so, we have animals to represent all the DLCs up to this one. So, with Deluxe Edition, we have the Nile Crocodile. For Arctic, the Muskox. For South America, the Kinkajou. For Australia, the short-beaked echidna. Aquatic Pack, the Gentoo penguin, as a penguin that could cohabit with the king penguin, because, I mean, you don't often see king penguins just on their own, do you? I mean, you could. I haven't been to that many zoos. The greater mouse deer for Southeast Asia Animal Pack. secretary bird for the Africa pack. The North America animal pack, we have the elk. The Europe pack is the wild boar. The wetlands animal pack is the shoebill. The conservation pack is the Sumatran rhinoceros, which would be a very nice addition. The eye for the twilight pack. For the grasslands animal pack, we have the black buck. The Matski's tree kangaroo for the islands, as many people might be used to the Matskis or the Goodfellows. For highlands, we have the guanaco. For tropical rainforest, we have the cotton-top tamarin, a critically endangered species that is found across the world in many different zoos, with their punk rock haircut. For deserts, we have the sand cat. For woodlands, the tufted deer. Serval for the old world. Quokka for the new world. Hummingbirds for aviary. And the mighty whale shark for the aquarium expansion. Now, as with the aquarium expansion, they are all exhibit animals, so they won't necessarily breed as they would in actuality, but whale shark is found in aquariums, and given the size that the aquariums could extend to, given the size of the walkthrough exhibit, whale sharks could be a fine addition. So that's going to have to wrap up this overly long video. I was losing my breath reading out all these names, but this is the second last of the series, and we will have the final verdict video. I'll probably release it tomorrow. I'll record it and then release it, because I want to try and commit to some other projects, like the franchise zoo and another game we're going to start covering with DLC speculation and some playthroughs. So that is all from me, Red Panda Reggie, and I'll see you in the next video, which will probably come out today. Okay, see you later.